I could not survive. I wasn't healthy in a normal work environment. And so at some point I had the privilege, I'll acknowledge that, of saying, wow, do you really want to continue to center work as the core part of your identity and sacrifice all of these other things, including for me, my health and mental health? Or do you want to center yourself and then allow work to be the frame that supports all of those things? You know, when I started to change my relationship with work, meaning I took a job at 4 days a week instead of 5, or I made the shift to full-time being a consultant and now a full-time business owner, I was really revolting against work. I was like, I hate work, I hate work, I hate work. But what I realize now is that I wanted to change my relationship to work because I needed to take care of myself. So it's not that I don't want to work, but if after caring really well for myself and for little Kelli and taking care of her needs, and then caring well for my chosen family and my friends around me, and then caring well for my actual family and my parents and nieces and nephews, and then caring well for my community, if there's room left on the plate for work, 100% sign me up. I am always doing something mission driven, but I could not survive. I wasn't healthy in a normal work environment. And so at some point I had the privilege, I'll acknowledge that, of saying, wow, do you really want to continue to center work as the core part of your identity and sacrifice all of these other things, including for me, my health and mental health? Or do you want to center yourself and then allow work to be the frame that supports all of those things? And so I think that is what I try to do most when people come to me and they say, I'm so ready to quit my job, I'm so exhausted. We don't start by thinking about, all right, well, what do you want next? We think about, okay, what would it look like to not be exhausted? What would it look like to take care of your kids? What would it look like to have a healthy marriage? What would it look like to not resent coming home and walking in the door after work because you're so tired, but to actually feel more free? And for a lot of us, we can't afford to ask those questions because we live in America and it's expensive. So a lot of us, I would argue that anyone, if they wanted to, could ask those questions, blah, blah, blah. But y'all know me. I'm not that. If you do not have the financial stability and the emotional capacity to be able to start asking these questions, then keep working, keep doing some self-care stuff, etc. But a lot of us, particularly as you get later in your career, you're earning good money, you're making 6 figures, your husband, your wife's making 6 figures, or maybe you saved early on and so now you've got a little bit of flexibility. A lot of us have the capacity to ask the question about how to get in right relationship with work. And we put that off because we think that it'll just kind of take care of itself. But what happened to me was I looked up and it was 10 years and my brain was really struggling. My nervous system could not hold the capacity of doing the type of work I was doing. I had really been a kind of bad friend and family member in terms of capacity and availability, and my personal relationships were kind of struggling. And so the question for me was not, do I want to work? But it was, how can I get in right relationship with work so that first and foremost, Kelli is well. Kelli is whole. Everything that I do for Kelli is done with excellence. And then after all of that, I can give some energy to work. So if you're thinking about walking away from your career, if you're thinking about what is next for my life, how can I recenter myself? How can I recenter my children? How can I recenter my husband and this relationship? And then think about what work opportunities would support that. I'd love to hang out with you. I'd love to help you talk through and answer some of those questions.